Hi everyone, welcome back. Today I'll be doing my March wrap-up, and I had a really good reading month. I did like 16 books. Let me preface it by saying 8 of those have been graphic novels or mangas, so very quick reads. I could literally sit down in an hour and read one of them. In fact, in some cases I think I may even read 2 in a day because I was just so hooked on the series, but I'll get into those a little bit later. So I'm going to start out with the books I don't have physical copies of because I either borrowed them or they were audiobooks or whatever. The first one is a graphic novel entitled Hinterkind, Volume 1, The Waking World. It's by Ian Edgington, and I kind of received it from Edelweiss, which is a downloaded place where you can review, you get downloaded ARCs, sort of like NetGalley. I think I've talked about it before on my channel. And so I was able to download this one. This is the cover. I believe this particular volume will be coming out pretty soon. Otherwise, you can get the individual comics. But it's sort of set in a world where it's like a post-apocalyptic world where some kind of unknown biological event has wiped out most of mankind. It doesn't go into detail of what that biological event was or how it happened in this first volume, so I'm hoping we'll get a little more detail on that. But while there's this big decline in the human population, the Hinterkind have sort of emerged from hiding. And the Hinterkind are made up of all these mythological beings from our fairy tales, ogres, trolls, werewolves, vampires, all these kind of beings have kind of were in hiding before, have now emerged and want to kind of take over the earth for their own. So they're basically hunting the humans to, get rid of them and everything. So the only thing standing in their way is, of course, the humans' survival instinct, and also a race known as the Sith. It's very hard to pronounce, but ruled by a queen. Their people sort of ruled over the Hinterkind, and now they sort of wanted to take control again. So it's a real interesting mix of beings or races, and set in a kind of world where, say, Mother Nature's sort of taking control again. It's covered in vines, and it's just kind of, if you look at Chernobyl, it kind of looks something like that when you see like the illustrations, how Mother Nature's kind of just growing over everything. And it's definitely a struggle to survive. I really enjoyed it, but I think it lacked from a lot of character description. I mean, like detail, I should say. You learn more about the Sith Queen and some of the main human characters, but a lot of the other Hinterkind beings that come into there, you don't get a lot of background story about them or enough depth to those characters. So I'm hoping that'll kind of change in the upcoming volume. I think I will continue it if I'm able to locate the next copy. And overall, I gave that one 3 stars. Let me bring up the next one. I listened to an audio copy of The Madman's Daughter by Megan Shephard. This is sort of a retelling of The Island of Dr Moreau by H.G. Wells. And it is the first in a series. I think the second one is sort of a take on Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, with our main character, Juliet, kind of continuing in that. And it's about this young woman, Juliet. She's 16 years old, living in London, kind of working as a maid. And she's on her own now because her mother has passed away and her father has sort of kind of left the country in disgrace. There's all this sort of scandal about some of the experiments he was doing on animals and humans, and she never really was sure if it was true or not, and she thought he had passed away. And now she has come to realize that he's actually still alive, living on a remote island, and she travels to that island to kind of find out for herself what the truth is. Along the way, she travels with Montgomery, a childhood friend that she knew, and he's also the assistant to her father. And en route to the island, they come across a castaway by the name of Edward, who's drifting in sort of a raft, and they rescue him and bring him to the island with him. The father is really creepy in this book. Whenever he appears, it just gave me chills. It's like this embodiment of evil hidden beneath the surface. In some cases, he just flat out, shows how cruel he is, particularly to Edward in the very beginning. But it really had a really creepy, gothic kind of feel to this whole story, and I really enjoyed it. Overall, I gave this one 4 stars, and I will be continuing the series. The next book was The Walking Dead, The Fall of the Governor, Part 1. This is by Robert Kirkman and Jay Bonasinga. And it was a rather small hardcover because for some reason they're splitting The Fall of the Governor into 2 parts. I won't go into too much detail. I will say that now that it's, it was The Rise of the Governor, and I forgot the next one. But now we're getting into The Fall of the Governor, so as you can imagine, it's entering the part in the series whether you've watched the TV series or read the graphic novels, you know, it's obviously going to be the end of his storyline. And it very closely follows the graphic novel as opposed to the TV series with in terms of a lot of the evilness that he does. Yeah, it really follows, like I said, the graphic novel. About midway through, we encounter Rick and Michonne and Glenn, I think it was. And so it starts to parallel, like, parts of the story that I already know from having followed the graphic novel. And then there's not so much new revelations with the character. So in a way, it's sort of a rehash for me of what I already know about the character, not too much insight. So I'm hoping it'll give us something more in the next book, which I guess is going to be the conclusion of it. Of course, I already in my head know the conclusion of the governor, what happens in the storyline, but I'll be interested to see how they portray it within the book itself. And for this one, I gave it 3 stars. The next one was The Wind-Up Bird Chronicles by Haruki Murakami. I listened to this one as an audiobook. This is the cover. That's an adult fiction. Very difficult to kind of describe a Haruki Murakami book. There's a bit of a detective mystery kind of within this. It starts out with a man who is looking for his wife's missing cat. It soon ends up him looking for his missing wife. And it leads him down a trail of meeting very unusual characters with unusual storylines, which the author goes into those storylines quite in depth to the point you're sometimes wondering, why am I hearing this person's whole story of their trials and things like that during World War II, or, you know, it's just very intriguing, but yet all those storylines eventually tie together in just a most amazing way. So I really was intrigued with every one of these characters, and the mystery behind the missing wife and the reasons behind all that. So I definitely want to read more of Haruki Murakami's. I don't want to go into any more detail on this. I think it's something you have to kind of just discover for yourself. But the writing is just really compels you to just want to keep reading in it. And I really, really enjoyed that one. And that one I gave 4 stars to. The next one, I think that's the last of the ones. This will be the last of the ones I don't have a physical copy for. And this is Game by Barry Lyga. And it's a teen thriller. And this is the second book in the I Hunt Killers series about a young boy by the name of Jasper Dent. He is the son of a serial killer by the name of Billy Dent, whose father has escaped prison and is sort of on the loose in this particular issue, or this particular book of the series. And there is another serial killer on the loose known as the Hat Dog Killer, and the FBI/NYPD are having trouble kind of profiling this character. And because Jasper Dent sort of has that insight of having lived with a serial killer and seems to have that ability to kind of think like one in the odd sort of way, they kind of ask for his help, and he goes off to New York. His girlfriend, Connie, I think was her name, she travels with him without really her parents' permission. They don't really even like the fact that she's dating, you know, the son of a serial killer. That whole, you know, storyline there kind of freaks them out. So she kind of sneaks off to New York. Her character was kind of annoying in this book, I'll have to say. Quite often she's sort of like listening in on the details of the case and everything, and she kind of sets off on her own trying to, like, follow a lead. I mean, she's putting herself in danger and making really stupid decisions with it. Sometimes I just wanted to say, what the heck is she doing? But the other part of the storyline with regards to the serial killer and Jasper were really intriguing. There's quite often where Jasper's thinking like his father. He hears his voice in his head as he's describing what he looks for in a prospect or a victim. And there's quite often where Jasper's just hanging out with his girlfriend or doing whatever, and in his head he's hearing his father's voice more and more frequently, it seems, to the point where it's getting rather creepy. And I'm kind of worried about what the outcome will be for our main character. Will he go insane? Will he turn into somebody like his father? We don't know yet. So it's a really intriguing mystery again, and I can't wait for the next one. I will say, besides Connie that kind of annoyed me in this book, really annoying is the ending of this particular one. You know, I can deal with a cliffhanger. Cliffhanger makes you want to read the next book, but there's usually some sort of wrap-up at the end of a book. Then you're, boom, hit with that cliffhanger to make you want to continue. This one, no ending. Very little wrap-up. But literally, I expected there to be another chapter to continue. It just ended. And I was like, what? Well, you know, you can't leave it like that. That's ridiculous. I would say if you're thinking of reading this one, you might want to wait until the third book's out so you can kind of pick that one up and just continue reading, because I was screaming, where's the ending? What happened? So, yeah, that one kind of made me knock it down to 4 stars just because of that aspect alone. So it was a little frustrating, but still a really, really good read. Great series. Next is the kind of massive quantities of graphic novels and mangas. I'm just kind of go over them really quickly. I'm reading the Blue Exorcist series by Kazue Kato. I read book 2 and 3. I gave book 2 4 stars and book 3 5 stars, but I think I may go back on Goodreads and change it to 5 stars because I was kind of flipping through it again. I'm like, oh yeah, that was in this book, and that was a really good scene and a lot of action, and I think I'm going to bump it back up to 5. But definitely a really cool series about a boy that kind of discovers he's the son of Satan, and he's training to become an exorcist. And I think when we're in book 2, he becomes an ex-wire, him and his classmates, which is sort of like one of the steps up to becoming a full-fledged exorcist. And just really, really cool testing sequence that they go through in this one, and the story just continues, and I'm already, I think, currently reading book 4 in this one, so really good series. I enjoy it a lot. And another really cool series that I'm liking is the Vampire Knight series, and I read books 2 through 6. I gave each one of these 5 stars because I really like the storyline. There's a bit of a love triangle kind of going in there, but there's lots of intrigue about one of the main characters, Zero. Let's see. It's basically a story of Cross Academy, which is made up of the day school and the night school, day class, night class. And the students in each have very little interaction with each other because the night class is actually made up entirely of vampires. And the day class doesn't realize that. They're just infatuated with the beauty of these people and kind of maybe that vampire pull that they have, who knows. But our main character, who I'm suddenly blanking on his name, Yuki. Yuki, I have a picture of Yuki. Well, there's Yuki. Yuki and Zero are sort of the guards, you might say, that kind of keep things balanced and separated when the two classes kind of pass each other. But Zero has a whole interesting backstory. Actually, Yuki does too. She doesn't really know anything about her family or where she came from. She was just found in the woods by another vampire who saved her from like an evil vampire. And this other vampire, he attends the school, Konami. Let's see if I can find a picture of him. Oh, there's Konami. He actually rescues Yuki out in the woods and brings her to the school. So it's between Yuki, Zero, and Konami. There's like the love triangle that kind of takes place in there. But it's not so focused so much on that. It's really just this whole vampire culture and the background stories of these main characters. So this is book 2. We have book 3, book 4, book 5, and book 6. And in fact, Blue Exorcist and Vampire Knight I'm actually also following online at animeget.net, where you can watch the anime versions of these. And they're really both really good, so I definitely recommend that site. And the last graphic novel I have is just, again, I'm continuing the series. It's Why the Last Man by Brian K. Vaughn. And this is volume 4 called Safeword. This is kind of a weird one. But again, this is some kind of strange plague has wiped out all of the male population on Earth except for one man by the name of Yorick Brown, and actually his pet male monkey. We don't know why they particularly survived or what caused this particular plague to take place, but it's a really intriguing series and I'm enjoying it a lot. This one had a little strangeness in the beginning part, which I won't really go into. But by the second half, it definitely picked up with an awesome cliffhanger, and I can't wait to start the next one. But that first part kind of bothered me a little bit, so overall I just gave this one 3 stars. Into the physical books now. One of my favorite authors, I've talked about her many, many times. It's an adult kind of urban fantasy series, but known as the Hollows series, and it is by Kim Harrison. This is volume 12, The Undead Pool. It's about a kind of a white witch by the name of Rachel Morgan who goes through quite a transformation across the series. within here, in this whole series, there are all sorts of paranormal creatures, from vampires, werewolves, banshees. I can't even think of all pixies. She runs sort of what do you call it? An agency where they go after paranormal creatures that are kind of breaking the law. And her partner is a vampire by the name of Ivy, and a pixie by the name of Jinx, who is just hilariously sarcastic. I absolutely love his character. But yeah, this one I had a little trouble with. This is an art copy. I've since bought a physical copy because I'm collecting them in hardcover. But it was really slower moving for me. This is another major character by the name of Trent. I won't go into a whole lot of detail with him, but we've been waiting for events to kind of go a certain direction, you might say, with these two characters. But everything was kind of progressing kind of slow for me in this one. There's action still, but not enough of it. There's a possible departure of a character I'm hoping will return. I'm sure will return in the final. Can't leave this one out. Too major of a character. But anyway, overall, because of the pacing being a bit slow, I gave this one 4 stars. And then I finished off the Divergent series with Allegiant, book 3. I know a lot of people didn't like this book for some reason. The ending, I suppose, the overall outcome of it. I would say it was pretty much foretold throughout the series, and if you didn't see it coming or thinking it would go one of 2 ways, and that's all I'm going to say about it. I don't know what you were reading. I mean, like I said, it was obvious kind of what was going to happen. And as much as I don't like it, I think it made it more realistic. Instead of everything coming up roses and turning out perfectly in the end, it was a good ending for me. So I gave this one 4 stars. And the final book I read, which I had been wanting to read for quite some time because it's my all-time favorite movie, and that is Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park. Love this. It's different enough from the movie to make it original enough and enjoyable enough to want to continue. It's not like I was seeing the entire movie in my head. There are bits and pieces that match up, but a lot of characters don't have the same outcome, don't survive or do survive, or are put in different situations. Like when the Tyrannosaurus comes through the fence, different people are in the car. I won't go into all that detail, like I said, but the one girl, and I've forgotten her name now. Shoot. There's Dr. Hammond and his 2 grandchildren, and the girl in this one is rather annoying compared to being a bit of a computer genius in the movie. It seemed to be role reversal between the brother and sister from the movie to the book version. Maybe even in age-wise, it seemed like, in the movie the girl was older, and in here it seemed like the boy was older or at least more mature than she is. She was about the most annoying character, I think, within the book. And Hammond wasn't as likable. I mean, he's misguided, you might say, in the movie. He has this dream of building this Jurassic Park, but thinking he has control. He never has control. Same here, but he just seemed so hell-bent on thinking he could still make it work to the bitter end that it was just the one thing about him that I didn't like. He seemed less of a caring grandfather as well in some situations than the one in the movie. But overall, love the book. Definitely recommend it. 5 stars overall. So that was my March wrap-up. Like I said, a big reading month for me, and I'm sure if I keep going like I am with these mangas and graphic novels, I'm going to definitely have to up my Goodreads goal, because I think right now it's 110. I've already read like 49 books. So that's a bit crazy. And if you follow me on Goodreads, you might see that I finished The Martian by Andy Weir, gave it 5 stars. I'm sure it's probably going to stay at 5 stars, but I haven't actually finished it. I'm literally right there. I was trying to close out Vampire Knight Book 6, and I accidentally didn't pay attention or hit something wrong, and I closed out the wrong book. So I'm actually still reading this one. I'll probably do a review on it when I'm finished. But yeah, these are all the books I read. Let me know if you're going to be reading any of them, what you thought. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching.